All right. Hey there, Heather Ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to a live stream on Cutter Historical. It is Saturday, March the 1st, 2025, and it's going to be a very cold day in Kitchener. We're expecting minus 10 today with the freaking wind and all that, which will make it, I think, colder. We're not getting the Chinook winds like the warm wind. We're getting cold winds and all that. So, of course, the reason why I'm doing a live stream today, which is unusual, because, I usually do videos and, you don't see my ugly face, is the fact that today is March the 1st, 2025, and it is a solemn anniversary for me. It's the 5-year anniversary of, my dad's death and all that. So, I'm going to give you some background on what happened and all that, and what his influences on me was and all that. So yeah, I know I have the weirdest angle with everything, with my basement windows and all that. So you'll be probably wondering, what am I sporting? Like, what's my drip? Well, this is my drip. It may look like an ordinary John Deere tractor, but it was my dad's shirt and all that. And that's one of a few items that I have accrued from him. I accrued his his shaver, which didn't really work that well. I have a new one. I also have his Bible. I also have a few other things relating to Dad. Of course, why wouldn't I? But of course, the thing is that, got things about my dad. So background about my dad, Ronald Diamond, was that he was born in 1947, February 1st, 1947, in fact. So he was born a small farm outside Plattsville, Ontario, where I used to live before I moved to Kitchener to go to school, all that. He was raised there with 3 siblings, my grandma Diamond, as in Mildred Diamond, and my grandfather Morris Diamond, although it was spelled Maurice, but it was Morris Diamond. Raised 4 kids. My dad was the first of 4, and then came my Aunt Carol, who was born July 2nd, 1948. My Uncle Glenn, who was born in 1951, if I remember right. I don't know the date of his birthday. And my Uncle Ken, who was born in 1953. But Uncle Ken died in a motorcycle accident in 1973. He was only 19 years old when he passed. I don't know how many cousins I would have had if he was still alive. Probably 2 or 3 by my guess. So anyway, from the 3 kids who were still alive, spawned 11 grandchildren for Grandma Diamond. My Uncle Glenn had 4 with Aunt Evie. They were married in 1973, late, I think it was September 73, I think. But anyway, yeah, they had 4 kids. They had Randy, who was born August 1974. Keith, born, I like to say September 1977, but I'm probably wrong. Probably 78. My cousin Tim, who was born June 1981, and my cousin Heather, who was born April 14th, 1984. So Keith works in Master Feeds, I think. I'm not up to speed with a lot of these people. Tim's the teacher and all that. Randy works on the farm, like a farmhand, and Heather works with a canine rescue shelter, because I've seen her post from there. I think I got to be right. So anyway, Keith has 2 kids, Ashlyn, who's 12, and Stephen, who is 9. I like to say 9. I think he's 10. I think he turned 10. Yeah, because Ashlyn and Stephen are 2 years behind, or 2 years between them. And they live in even the kids live in Stratford with Robin. There were some problems. Of course, I'm not going to get into them because I got to keep things as secret as possible. So let's just say that keeping the kid's mother, well, things didn't work out. Tim lives with his wife, Katie, who's also a teacher, and they have 2 boys, Aubrey and Gus. Well, their second one, Gus, I think he's like 4 months old or something like that. But yeah, they live with two boys. Randy does not have any kids. Heather has two boys, Lincoln and Hudson. Well, I think Hudson's 8 and Lincoln's 6. No, wait, Lincoln's 5, isn't he? Oh, is he 6? No, Lincoln's, yeah, because Lincoln just had a birthday. So I think he's 5 and Hudson's 7. Nevertheless, Heather and her husband Tyler live in Baden. Randy, of course, lives on the farm in New Hamburg, and Tim and Katie live in Stratford, I think. And then Carol with her 4 kids. Well, she married John in June 1973 and had 4 kids. Gregory, the oldest, born October 1976. Allison, born in 1979. I keep getting the month wrong and all that. I think it was March 1979, right? Or is it September 1979? I think it's September. Nevertheless, Melanie, born April 5th, 1982, and Jennifer, born November 1984. Gregory is a plastic surgeon, lives in California. I think it's still Lake Cucamonga, or like they had a AA baseball team, like Elsmore. I don't know, but yeah, he lives with his wife Vanessa and their dogs. And well, right now they're expecting their first child, which is pretty good. Melanie lives in British Columbia. She's a lawyer, and she's married to Adam, who works for the provincial government. And they have 3 boys. They have, oh my gosh. Well, I know Kingston's the youngest, and I think he's 5. Kingston's 5, Jackson's 7, and Tatum 9. And Tatum is certified like a genius and all that because he does a lot of cool stuff with Duolingo and all that. He likes to learn about things as a cat's trying to interrupt my stream. Nevertheless, yeah, they're very smart boys. Allison has 4 of her own. She has Felicity, who's about to turn 15 this month. Wesley turns 13 this month in March. Kieran will turn 12 in June. And Felicity, no, not Felicity, sorry. Elena is now 10. She celebrated her birthday last month. And they're very athletic. Those 4 kids do gymnastics stuff. They go to provincials and all that. They've done pretty well. They've went to national competitions. Felicity won a event in Miami, which was pretty impressive. You know how American gymnastics and Canadian gymnastics are different and all that. You know, they all like to do gymnastics. That's their main goal. And Allison's a teacher of people who are English as a second language, ESL. Nick, her husband, works for BMO, Bank of Montreal. Let's see. Jennifer is not married, although she has a great teaching job. She went to Duke University, among other schools, which was pretty impressive. And yeah, I said Gregory, Allison, Melanie, and Jennifer, right? Yeah. And of course, spawned off from Ron were 3 kids of his own. My brother Edward, who was born January 1976, January 13th, 1976. My sister Christine, born June 1st, 1982. And myself, April 9th, 1985. Edward has been working several jobs. He worked at Raytheon. He worked for quality assurance for a few partners. Now he has a job in Mississauga. That place in Mississauga actually works in aerospace. So he'll be going to Ottawa from time to time. And then Marlene, my sister-in-law, is a teacher in Mississauga. And they have 2 kids. Victoria, who's 15, was born October 9, 2009. And my nephew, Bentley, who was born January 5th, 2012. So he's 13. Yeah, he turned 13 this year. So yeah, so he's a teenager now. And Victoria's now 15. Victoria is a grade 10 student at a public school Oh yeah, I can't really say the school's names for security reasons. I got to remember that. Yeah, so she's in high school. She's in grade 10. My nephew is in grade 7. They're 3 years apart by the school cycle because Victoria was born in October and Bentley was born in January. So the school cycles and all that. But yeah, Victoria is well immersed in dance, Girl Guides, and social media, doing a lot of things. Unfortunately, Victoria does suffer from something. I don't know exactly what it is. Ever doesn't even know what it is. But yeah, she's got some some issues that are, well, Everett says she's worse than me and all that. But some ways yes, in some ways no. Anyway, Bentley is a dynamo. Why did I not pronounce that right? He likes to paint. He's a good painter. He's a good artist. He's a good hockey player. He might make AAA soon, and he's a good gamer. He does Fortnite and a few other things on his YouTube channel, which is Beanie Bro, if you must know. So yeah, so he's got a YouTube channel of his own, and I think I have the lead on him on subscribers by about 20. Regardless of that, um, Christine and Michael have been married for 22 years. Yeah, 22 years, which is shocking. Christine works at Pillars in Waterloo as a quality assurance lab technician and all that. So she's done that. Michael, unfortunately, is unemployed. And, well, I'm not going to say much about him because he's not worth mentioning. Sorry, that's just how I feel. And, of course, you got the baby of the family, myself, born April 9th, 1985, and I'm soon going to hit 40. I can't believe I'm going to be 40 years old. Where has the time gone? I feel like I'm 35, if anything. But the fact of the matter is, I work at Canadian Tire in Waterloo. I used to work at Sellers in Kitchener before it got merged with Lords and Taylor, and then thus, I lost my job because Sellers was out. The lease went to Target, who wanted to get in the Canadian market. So I worked at Target for a year and a bit until March 2015 when they decided, screw it, we're out of Canada. So that means I was out of job. I was freelancing for 4 years, primarily on my buddy's startup company, Tender Tool. But then I went to Sheridan Nurseries in May 2019, got a job there. So for the summer, and then that led to a Shoppers Drug Mart job close to where I live. Not the one very close to where I live, one near the area for a half-hour walk. I was there for 4.5 months. They let me go, and then I found the Canadian Tire job, luckily, through a job agency, and I've been there ever since. Ironically, Monday, the 3rd, will be 5 years since I started. I can't believe it. 5 years at Canadian Tire. I had 5 years with Sellers. Well, 6+, but yeah, 5 years at Canadian Tire. Amazing. And truth be told, I got hired right before COVID hit. I'm officially the last hire before COVID hit. And of course, a lot of people put COVID as a life event. Because, as Watch Mojo did, I think last week, they said the number one moment that made the world stand still was COVID-19 ahead of 9/11. So that's just a background of everything, all that with my family. Is that my brother? Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, regardless of that. So we're not here to talk about my family history. We're here to talk about my dad. So anyway, so yeah, dad was a farmer and all that. He spent a few years living in Kitchener and all that, and actually got to know my mom, although, it was weird and all that. That was before they were married. Of course, my mom married somebody else, and Everett is my half-brother or my stepbrother, whatever you call it. But I never call him that. I call Everett my brother, because without his guidance, I wouldn't be where I am today. Yes, my living situation is not the best, but I live in a house and all that. I pay rent. I pay for food. I do everything. I have a job. And I have to keep an eyeball on my stuff from a certain blackish gray Russian blue named Smokey, who's making noise in the background. Regardless of that, yeah. So I got all that, but yeah, my dad wasn't there, and then my mom, and then there were complications, which I'm not going to talk about. So basically, mom then found dad, and then, they married and all that. August 1981, which was fantastic and all that. My mom and dad were married for nearly 4 years. Well, 38 plus, but like it would have been 4 years. It definitely would have been a massive celebration on the farm. And then my dad would work at Hybrid Turkeys and all that. My mom would work at Hybrid Turkeys. Christine and Everett would work at Hybrid Turkeys, but I never did. Well, a fact of coordination issues and hay fever and all that led to me not working there. I wouldn't have liked it there. But yeah, my dad had a lot of things going for him. He did have to take a lot of medications, but sometimes when you're old, you have to take medications anyway. He always worked with the tractors. He always liked to work on the farm and do all the stuff and all that, the barn stuff. Yeah, it was great. And, my dad was really an inspiration to me and all of that. So I wrote on my left hand, and I hope you can see it. Of course, I have terrible handwriting. I have sloppy handwriting. So this is just basically on my hand today. RIP 1947 to 2020, Ron Diamond. Don't worry, it's in pen. So of course I'll wash it off and all that. But yeah, that's my tribute to him today. Obviously, I can't write with my left hand onto my right hand. I would have said, "I'll make you proud." And my dad would love to read the newspaper. I used to love swiping the sports sections as early as 3 years old and read it, even though that I couldn't talk till I was 4. So yeah, my dad was great to me and all that, because he was the one guy who basically nurtured my stuff and all that. There were a lot of people that wanted my parents to give me into some kind of program for kids with autism, but like differently abled kids, because autism in the 90s was handled a lot different than autism nowadays. And truth be told, it has not been treated well by my provincial government. And we just elected our premier, Doug Ford, to a 3rd term. And Ford has had nothing much to do with autistic people, like even like kids or even adults like yours truly. Sure, ODSP's gone up and stuff, and I get extra money, but is it enough? Not really. No. But yeah, so yeah, the disabled community has been basically shunned at by everybody for years and years and years. It's not Ford's government. It was the Liberals and the PCs from the 2000s doing that crap. Nevertheless, like my dad and some doctors said, no, you're not going to put him in these programs because he's not going to learn much. Put him in with everybody else and see how he does. And truth be told, I had to deal with a speech therapist and a few things, and having to go to CPRI in London till I was 8. So yeah, it was like amazing and all that. But they were actually amazed how good I was and how, normal I seemed to be. Although I don't consider myself normal at any strain, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, my dad was always there, and my dad like nurtured me and all that. Like, sure, I got on his bad side at times, but as a kid, I usually get on people's bad sides. That's what things happen. The fact of the matter is my dad really was a big inspiration to me and all that. So it's just hurt. Yeah. And then, my dad did have health problems and all that. He had to have both hips and both knees replaced. I think the knees were when I was still living on the farm. I was 17 when he had to have his one knee replaced, and 18 when he needed the other knee. So I was still living on the farm and all that. But then he had to have both hips done, and, there were some problems. But yeah, like Dad suffered through it. But basically, it was huge. One negative thing about Dad and all that, which I share, is that Dad was suffering in silence. Like, my dad was a proud man and didn't like going to see the doctor and all that. But I mean, Not a lot of people like going to see the doctor and all that. That's natural. So basically, dad was hurting and didn't really tell anyone. I can relate. I usually, one of my massive faults is I usually have problems, but I don't say anything because I want to try to handle things myself and all that. So, of course, things happen for a reason. But yeah, my dad had problems and all that, and it led to fluid in the lungs and all that. And that led to pneumonia, which led to heart failure. Yeah. And I remember, what was I thinking? I don't know what I was thinking of doing on February 29th, 2020. Now, I said February 29th, which was a Saturday, and it's correct. Dad expired on Leap Day. And of course, every 4 years we celebrate the anniversary proper. I'm celebrating 5 years on March 1st because, Dad was alive February 28th. I would have done a live stream on yesterday. But no, he was still alive February 28th. It was February 29th when he was dead. And at 10:30 in the morning, around this time 5 years ago, I got the massive phone call that mom phoned me and said dad was dead. And I'm like, are you sure? And all that. I was shaking and all that. And then, of course, I had to go to the farm with my brother who was living in Mississauga and had to drive from Mississauga to Kitchener to pick me up. And then we had to go to the farm in Plattsville and comfort my mom and all that. So practically, dad went to take a nap and didn't wake up and all that. He seemed fine, but, he just passed away in his sleep. My mom was frantically calling 911. And of course, the Plattsville fire station was there in about 20 minutes, but there was nothing they could do. Dad was covered by a sheet. I said my goodbyes and all that. And I was like a mess. I was a mess when he died. Damn it, I'm going to need tissue. At least it's within arm's range. Yeah, because I know that revisiting it will feel pain and all that, but sometimes it's good to share memories and all that. And the fact of the matter is that, it just shocked me a lot. Like, I made a Facebook live video at night and explaining myself. And, I was quivering and all that. So, this is not for dramatic effect. I'm feeling pain right now. I would not BS my way through this. But the fact is, it was hard, and everything happened. And then, the following Wednesday was the visitation. The following Thursday was the funeral. So, almost a week after dad died, we did a funeral and all that. I spoke. Well, I wasn't scheduled to speak, but my brother says, I think you need to speak at the funeral. And I'm like, yep, of course. So I spoke and I basically said some stuff about thanking everyone for coming to deal with my dad. My dad would have been happy because of the farming community and all that. And I relayed some stories about how he didn't give up on me, that I had autism and all that. And I shared a heartwarming sports story about him. That in 2002, when the Leafs played the Senators in the conference semifinals, the winner would have faced Carolina or Montreal in the Eastern Final. It was Game 6. The Leafs needed to win, or else Ottawa would have gone to the next round. So on a Sunday night, when my mom had to work at the nursing home, she worked at a nursing home for a while. My dad and I were on the couch just talking hockey and all that, and just watching the game intensely because Toronto and all that. My dad did not show favoritism towards any team except for the Blue Jays, but it happened. And of course, the Leafs won Game 6 and then won Game 7, went to the Eastern Final, should have beaten Carolina, but didn't. But yeah. Yeah, and I shared about how the fact dad always went, there was a diamond baseball trip to the Rogers Center to watch the Blue Jays play and all that. Dad went every year. I only started in 93. They'd started in 89, but I started in 93 because I was still too young. I was 8, my first Blue Jays game. And it was hard because, well, I'll explain that later. But anyway, it was always great to bond with my dad, like watching the Blue Jays and all that, and getting to meet my cousins and all that. Yeah, it was interesting and all that. Um, and I basically said that this has taught me to deal with my loved ones better because, I'm a shy person. I will admit I'm not the best person in the world. I'm socially awkward. I develop my feelings a lot different than what people think I do. Like I hide a lot of things inside because, I want to be normal like everyone else. And I know the stigma is that everyone's not normal, but like I just want to fit in and all that. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but that's just me. That's just me. And it was rocky for me. And I don't mean to sound selfish. If this is selfish, then whatever. It's selfish. But the reason why I'm really upset is the timing of my dad's death. Not that he died, but the timing. Because the worst timing was that he died on a Saturday. And guess what happened the following Tuesday, March the 3rd? I started it at Canadian Tire. I could have easily just taken say, I'll come the next week and start. But my dad always preached this, that you got to go on with your life and all that. And my dad was one who did not want people to feel sorry for him. So I took it as a sign to just do my training shift and all that. I had to miss the next shift because of the visitation. But, and I can't, the day after the funeral, I went back to work. I know that was not supposed to happen. I shouldn't have done that. But I was trying to be financially independent in a sense. And, dad dying just days before I was to start my job at Canadian Tire. I can remember telling dad the good news when I got the Canadian Tire job that I was going to be back on the workforce, hopefully sooner than later. It was March. I'm like, I'm happy. I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to make you proud of me. And I'm anticipating my dad basically saying, you have to buy me stuff from Canadian Tire. And I would have been like, sure, whatever, dad. Yeah, but I don't completely know the feelings about my two siblings after dad's death. I know everyone feels bad about it. And Christine takes it upon herself to call mom every day just to hear mom's voice and know that mom's okay because, my mom's living by herself, first on the farm, and then she moved to Baden and all that. So, yeah, she lives in a bungalow. I call it a boogaloo. But anyhow, she's doing fine. And she's 73, just like my dad was when he died. But she's fine. Like she has a few health things, but you're getting old. But the fact of the matter is that my mom still is an inspiration to my life. She's still alive. I hope. No, she is. She is. I'll have to call her later today. So yeah, I can only imagine how much it hurts Everett and Christine, especially today. So yeah, talking about your feelings and all that is good for you, I guess. So of course, it'd be like, well, what happened after 2020? Well, of course, I did the job, and then bang, a couple weeks after I started at Canadian Tire, COVID hit and the COVID restrictions hit. So thus, I had to, well, I still had to work because I couldn't stay home. So I did, but then they had the thing that you had to have your schedule with you in case a cop stops you by and say, "Why are you doing it out of your house?" I have to go to work. You had to wear the masks and all that. I hate wearing the mask because, I wear glasses and in cold weather, it fogs up and I have bad eyesight. That's why I wear glasses all the time. But the fact of the matter is that, it happens. And I can remember, me thinking, how am I going to break the news to people? Like, my biggest thing was going on Facebook and like, like, like using my webcam and telling my buddy Bill Lang in the Dominican Republic. And I told him, Bill, something tragic has happened. My dad died. And I'm like, shaking and all that. He was in the Dominican. He wanted to come back to Canada for the funeral, but I said, no, stay where you are. I understand and all that. I just need your sympathy and prayers and all that. I think he really regrets not coming for the funeral to comfort me. But, I don't hate him. He's still my best friend. So, I understood. But yeah, that's what happens sometimes. But yeah, like my dad was a big inspiration to me and my sports knowledge. I know my grandma Diamond also was one of my muses for sports knowledge and all that. My dad didn't like discourage me from it. He knew I like to watch sports and I like to talk about sports and all that. So he knew what exactly I really wanted to do as an obsession. Call it obsession, obsessive, compulsive, whatever the heck you want to call it. But I'm a sports guy. I love sports and I do sports videos on YouTube. I mean, come on, that's the primary thing about my channel. Well, Degrassi too, but like, you know, I got a feeling, I got a hunch, and I like to talk about sports in a historical sense. But yeah, I always go to work at Canadian Tire, and I always say, "This is for Dad," and I want to know if he's proud of me and everything. And everyone says, "I think he would be proud of you, Jeff." And I know you'd be proud of me too. I'm sticking a Canadian Tire. I know that we're actually going to get a new boss. Like there's a changeover, and I'm going to get new new co-workers, and a new hierarchy for management. But I'm scared. I'm scared for that because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, am I going to lose my job? Everyone assures me no because I do a fantastic job, but I got to maintain this pace. Um, I'm notorious for not getting completely ready for things. I'm just gonna leave you for a few seconds. I'll be right back. As a cat tries to be upright. Okay, there we go. Blah, blah, blah. Go to my dossier. Where are we? What are those? Is it those? Okay. Dress. Oh, dress. Okay, so anyway, yeah. Yeah, don't worry, I keep it in a dossier. All right, so anyway, this is my dad, Ron Diamond. 1947, 2020. And a poem and the obituary. So this is how it's I can't read it. But anyway, here's what it says. Well, it says Ronald Diamond passed away suddenly at his residence on Saturday, February 29, 2020. Ron Diamond of R1 Plateau in his 74th year. I guess 74th year of existence. Beloved husband of Diana Nee Snyder Diamond, who he married August 29, 1981. Dear father of Edward and his wife Marlene of Mississauga, Christine husband Michael of Waterloo, and Jeffrey of Kitchener. Sadly missed by his grandchildren Victoria and Bentley, Ron is survived by his brother Glenn and wife Evie of New Hamburg, and his sister Carol and husband John of Oakville, Philippine of Oakville, and by his many nieces and nephews. He will be remembered by the Snyder family. Predeceased by his parents Morris and Mildred Hastings Diamond, and by his brother Ken, July 1973, and his mother and father Annabelle Melvin Snyder. Ron farmed all his life at R1 Platzl, and the funeral was on March 5th, 2020, 11 a.m. In lieu of flowers, donations to the KW Humane Society or the Peace United Church, the church, would be appreciated by the family. And the poem reads this. Amsa, do not cry. I give this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circle of flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn. Powerful. Very powerful. And there was a poem my Aunt Carol wrote. Looked at the oak tree. And this is what the poem says. Jeez. Anyway, a mighty wind blew night and day. It stole the oak tree's leaves away. Then snapped its boughs and pulled its bark until the oak was tired and stark. But still the oak tree held its ground, while other trees fell all around. The weary wind gave up and spoke. How can you still be standing, oak? The oak tree said, I know that you can break each branch of mine in two, carry every leaf away, shake my limbs and make me sway. But I have roots stretched in the earth, growing stronger since my birth. You'll never touch them, for you see, they are the deepest part of me. Until today, I wasn't sure of just how much I could endure. But now I found, with thanks to you, I'm stronger than I ever knew. Really? You do that? Well, I'm doing a solemn poem? Cats, I tell you. Beauty of live stream, am I right? Anyway, and of course, one of the loving stuff is this. God bless my grandpa. Bentley drew this. Bentley freaking drew this in like an hour. He's a better artist now. But, he was only 7 or 8. No, he was 8 when he drew this. So anyway, that's just how the funeral was and all that. Gathering in Jesus' name, word of welcome. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound was played in the memories are rattled. Through Ed Carroll and then Everett and myself, how great thou art, the hymn, and then reading of the thanks be to God and all that, the gospel, eulogy given by the pastor, all things bright and beautiful, and I'll fly away. Go now in peace. And this is from Victoria, my niece. Victoria does not have the super best handwriting, but yeah, she takes after her uncle. Haha. My loving grandpa says, I love it when you tickled me. I love it when you took me on golf cart rides, because there was a golf cart at the property. I love it when you pushed me on the swings. I love it when you said you loved me. I love you always. Powerful. Freaking powerful. I wonder how those two feel about their grandpa dying and all that. Still, they push through things. Yeah, it was just a massive shock, because you don't expect this at all. Like, you expect your dad to be in his 80s, because the Diamond side of the family. My great grandmother died when she was in her 90s. Grandma Diamond died at 96 in 2015. She lasted 96 years. She died just a few weeks after I turned 30. So, yeah, what can you expect? Like, frig. But the fact of the matter is, all that. A couple of more points to cover. So, actually, I was kind of weeping on Thursday, a couple of days ago, because there were a couple of deaths close to my Canadian Tire family. My coworker Julia, who connects with me on Facebook every so often, she works at customer service. She's the queen of customer service. I'll say that much. Her father died after a long illness, like all that. So she's gonna bury her father in Turkey. She'll be gone for a while, but it's understandable. Like, come on. We all know that's what's gonna happen. So she's in Turkey. She and I were discussing like soccer, like the not World Cup, Euro, and the Copa America, when Canada got invited to Copa America, which is the South American thing, but Canada almost took third. They were so close. But the fact is, yeah, and Turkey went to Euros, and that goalkeeper with the stop against, I guess it was Austria, right? Yeah, Turkey versus Austria. When that goalie made that fantastic save in the last like 5 seconds of stoppage time and helped Turkey get to the quarters, which the Dutch freaking beat them in. And then the Dutch fell to England, who then fell to Spain. So basically, 6 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah, and then another tragic death hit me from the Canadian Tire family. And that was a coworker of mine named Jennifer, who worked in housewares and all that, and also worked in the garden hut in the summer because I was working in the soil compound and all that. She died of bone cancer. And like she had to have surgery on her skull every so often and affected her eyesight. Yeah, she was gone for long stretches of time and all that. So it was just painful. And then she died of bone cancer. She was in a lot of consultation with the family and all that, with the Canadian Tire family and all that. Because it strikes me because, Jennifer worked close to where I was, and she called me Jefferson or Jefferson Airplane and all that. Because, I always like to be called Jeff because Jeffrey sounds horrible. Like it sounds childish. But don't tell that to my former warehouse manager, now seasonal manager. He likes to sneak up around me and go, "Oh, Jeffrey! Jeffrey!" Of course, I can't do it in his voice. I can only do it in my voice. It's freaking annoying, but it's comical too. Like I give him stick back. I really do. Within reason, of course. So, and of course, it hit me because Julia's dad died in like freak. Like, today's 5 years since he's passed. So logically, it's hard and all that. Like I can relate. I've been giving her Facebook messages saying, my support. Heck, I even went on Classic Soccer, which is my PC game, my soccer game on the laptop, and created a match between the two Turkey squads that competed at the World Cup, 1954 and 2002, and did a tribute match and all that. So, that's just me. Was thinking of her. Anyway, so gonna share with you. Be right. Sorry, one sec. Okay, I'm gonna share with you something. So, what happened is my mom created a scrapbook for Grandma Diamond's 93rd birthday in 2012 and had everyone write a blurb about Grandma and all that. So I'll show you my dad's blurb. And as you can see, my dad with his siblings, Carolyn, Glenn, and then Grandma Diamond, who was 93, and wrote an interesting thing about it. Obviously, I can't really read what it says, but I could tell you that, he had lots of great memories and all of that. And then, of course, you got blurbs. Well, yeah, I want to show you my dad's thing. My dad also had bad handwriting, like yours truly. So that's my mom's handwriting. Okay, and there's my mom and dad. Famous picture of my dad, and then I commented on how they had to change his eyebrows and all that. It was funny. The church thing, Yeah. I knew today I was going to fall to bawl. I have a reason to cry. I do. This isn't for dramatic effect or sympathy. It's just what it is. To me, it's the question remains, did I make my dad proud? I know I wasn't the best kid in the world and all that, but my dad could easily have just given up on me and all that. And it would hurt, but I asked for it. Yeah. But you know what? I think he is proud of me. Even though that I suffer from autism, even though I don't have the best living situation, even though I have a job that's not the best position, even though that I obsess over sports and don't have a job related to sports, which should have been a good thing. I know that I keep things bottled up inside me. I know that I have to take medication for stomach problems and for sleeping problems. I know that I'm not the best situation, and I don't live by myself, and I'm kind of reliant on my family. But I know one thing for sure: Dad's up there. Dad's up there, and he wants me to do well. He wants me to fit in with society. He wants me to be the best person I could be. He wants my mom to live in peace and all that. He wants my siblings to be fine. He wants his two grandchildren to feel good and all that. That's what a grandpa does. That's what a father figure does. I know that many people have problems with their fathers and all that, and their fathers are not the best around. And I sympathize. I sympathize. I told myself when my dad died, now I can sympathize with people who've lost their dads, especially before they turn 40, because they say that's the hardest thing is to lose a parental figure before you're 40. And I lost one. I'm hoping to God I don't lose the other before I turn 40 in April. So, anyway, I know this is kind of stupid, and I know you'll be probably saying this is religious, but I am going to play Amazing Grace, How Sweet the Sound, and finish this off because it does get to me, but anyway, here we go. Well, I'll have to quickly, so, okay, it was only 1 second, okay. Nope. Here we go. Amazing. Oopsies. I jumped the gun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like the flood, his mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. Powerful. Powerful. So basically, this is 50 minutes, and I leave you with this psalm thing that I really want. Do not leave your family in the dark. Treasure your family and all that. Call them, make contact with them, say how much you love your loved ones, because you never know when they're gone. And that's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. I know I love my dad. I know I wanted to say I love you, Dad, and all that. I never did. I just wish that everyone would take time and say how much they love their loved ones, because you never know when they're gone, like I said. And I'll be carrying that burden the rest of my life. I'll be carrying the burden of not being the best kid in the world. But I know one thing's for sure. I'm still here. And I'm going to stay here as long as it possibly could. Because as Jim Ross said when he was talking about Owen Hart, the only thing I could say about him is that I hope to God that I live as well a life as him so I could see him again someday. And for me, I say, I hope I get to see my dad someday, but not too soon, when I'm ready, and make peace with my dad. That's all I do. And of course, thank you for this 50-minute diatribe. It's been an honor and a privilege to talk to people and all that. God bless you all. I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.